Hello and welcome to Anatomy with Dr. P. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the structures and layers of the human eye. We're going to start with the outermost layer and start with this white aspect of it. This is known as the sclera. Sclera comes from the Greek word scleros, which means hard, and that's because our sclera is the tough, fibrous outer covering of the eye. As we move towards the anterior aspects of the eye, we can see that we now have this clear covering. This is referred to as the cornea. The cornea allows light to pass into the eye, which is why it's clear. Now, if I open my eye up, so I'm going to take the sclera off, I can see that my second layer is known as the choroid. Choroid comes from a Greek word, chorion. Chorion refers to the fetal membranes. And you might be wondering, why do we call this the choroid? This doesn't have anything at all to do with the fetus. Well, the choroid on a fetus is highly vascular, which means it has lots and lots of blood vessels. So does this layer. It has this big net-like web of blood vessels, which is how it got its name. Now, at the very front of the eye, we can see this colored region here. The colored region of the eye is referred to as the iris. Iris comes from the Greek word for rainbow, and that's because everyone has different colored eyes. You can be green or brown or blue or gray or all different colors of the rainbow. Now, as we move towards the center of our iris, we notice this opening here. This is known as the pupil. Pupil comes from the Latin word pupilla, which means little doll. And the reason why we call this the little doll is when you get very, very close and you stare into someone's pupils, you can see a reflection of yourself in their pupils, so it looks like a little doll is sitting there. Now, if we open the choroid up towards the front, we can see this large, smooth muscle here. Kind of looks like a skirt that's running around underneath of the iris. This is known as the ciliary body. The ciliary body is attached to this part of the eye, which we refer to as the lens. So the lens is responsible for focusing light as it enters through the cornea and passes through the pupil. The lens focuses it back onto the back of the eye. Now, as we change distance to see things either close up or far away, that ciliary body is either going to contract or relax. That will change the shape of the lens to adjust how we're focusing light. Now, inside of the eye, we can see this innermost layer here, which is kind of this peach color. This is referred to as the retina. Retina comes from the Latin word reticulum, which means little net, because it has kind of a net-like appearance. Coming out of the back of our retina, we have this nerve. This is called the optic nerve or cranial nerve 2. This is going to carry visual signals from the back of the eye out to the occipital lobe of the brain. Where our optic nerve enters into the eye, right here, we have a region referred to as the optic disc. Now, the optic disc is a blind spot, which means that you can't see here because there's no photoreceptors present. Now, one thing you might be wondering is, how do I maintain the shape of my eye? Well, the way I do that is with a clear jelly-like substance that sits back behind the lens. This is referred to as the vitreous body. And the vitreous body helps us maintain that kind of round shape to the eye. Now, if I look into my retina here, I can also see an additional spot off to the side. So here's my optic disc. This kind of darker pigmented region over here is known as the macula. And the macula is the portion of the eye where we get our best vision possible. So optic disc is the blind spot, can't see, no photoreceptors here. The macula has lots of photoreceptors and gives you your best vision.